Right, hello. Let's see, I just made it. Oh, wow, Tailwind CSS bot. Okay. Where were we? We were here. I tweeted something or asked something this morning. It's interesting. Tweet some replies. Yeah, it's this. I think, yeah, I was inspired by the same library as David was in terms of the use effect reducer. But I'm really curious what David will answer here, because like we're using this concept of exec, though we are not like in this concept, you're actually extending the reducer signature with an exec. And I don't quite understand it. Because you're running side effects inside the reducer, and I'm not sure why exec. Type fetch user. So I think you're like running the side effects from within the reducer. Yeah, which is, for me, that's breaking a principle. Capture a named effect. But where do you actually... Okay, here it is. Fetch from... Oh, okay, and then you add them. Okay. Yeah, so for me, this is like super impure. So I do wonder what the reasoning behind this is, that this is like okay. Especially when you compare it to the way we do it in React states, which is... Maybe there's something I don't understand here. Probably is, but... So you have this thing, and the way we do it in... Okay, so what's happening here is that it triggers a reducer with state and event, and then you you just say, when this happens now, fetch, do this side effect, and then you pass in the side effects. Oh, sorry, didn't I copy that? Sorry, we need the whole thing. And then you add the side effects here. So you would kind of say that, okay, whenever this fetch happens and I return new state for that, then also go ahead and run that thing. Now the thing is that the way we do it instead, which is much more in line with, like, at least it's at least more pure, is that you don't do this. Let's see, fetch from API effect. You rather have a normal reducer, and then you say use effect, and then you rather use the exec here. So you exec on the state, and then you just identify, okay, we moved into fetching now. And then you run the thing. And this also handles more naturally, like the disposal and everything. So yeah, I do wonder why you would want to include it in like this special reducer and not just do this. What's also interesting about this is that if you were to move to, like, here you would probably only move to fetching in one instance. It's when you have fetch, but you might move to the same state. So you have like state A, B, C, D, and both A and B might lead to state D, and you want that same side effect to run. But when you express it inside the reducer, you have to remember that when you're on A, you have to run the side effect and then move to D. And then on B, you move to D, you also need to run that side effect. And you might forget that, right? So in this case, it's the actual state you're moving to that decides what effect should be run, which seems more predictable to me. Yeah, anyways, let's see if anyways, let's continue building our app. we are here. Where is it running? Oh, did I stop it? Yes. So I think we should just go ahead and like build a skeleton now. And we talked about like adding some latency here. And I thought maybe we could just have some random latency. So like we have latency between like 100 milliseconds and 500 milliseconds. That's really interesting to me. So we can like create maybe we can even we can have like a random wait here. And then we can have that utils export function random wait. And what this will do, it will be an async function, and it will just await new promise resolve set timeout, and then it will resolve. But we have to give it like a random. I never remember this. Random number between. Generate random number between 1 and only 1. Wow, that was a really weird way to explain it. Min max. Let's just do this. Cool. And we have to set the maximum will be like 500 milliseconds, minimum will be 100 milliseconds, and then like that. +1 is that, why is it +1? Okay, I think we're just going to trust that this works. And we're going to add this to our sandbox environment. Random. There we go. Random wait. We'll do the same for the storage. Let's see. Boring. Return. Random wait. Oh my god. Return. Return random wait. Yeah, here it's easier. Random wait. And random wait. By the way, I'm feeling horrible today. I'm so tired. Of course, the little one is sick, so he doesn't sleep that well. So I get to bed at like 9:30. I sleep a little bit, and then he wakes up, needs food. I go to bed again, like 1 o'clock in the night. I get up to give him food, and then like 10 minutes into it, he just wide awake. And I spend half an hour in a Zumba session in the bathroom with the hairdryer. That's how we get him to sleep normally, because the hairdryer calms him down, and like the bumping up and down also calms him down. And my back is hurting. I'm getting like so warm that I'm almost fainting, and he's wide awake. Half an hour. And then I just fucking give up, and I just put him to bed. And he's not crying, that's the thing. Oh man, if he was crying during all of this, like there are babies who do that, oh my god, I don't know what would happen. Like I would not be able to deal with that. So luckily he's not crying. But yeah, I just put him to bed, and what do you know? He just immediately falls asleep. Almost. And then yeah, I try to get up, and then he wakes up, and then I have to get back to bed. Like, the long story short, I was awake from 1 to 3 last night, and it completely ruins your brain. It's so exhausting. God damn it. Where were we? Yes. Oh, did we have an error here? Debug. Oh shit, did I introduce... Oh, god damn it. Did I introduce a bug? No. That's not good. Let's see. Because we did, like, we fixed something here. And I didn't really test it. Yeah, I think I introduced a bug. Because we checked debug transitions, use DevTools. Yeah. Why is this not defined? Why does it say that? Manager mount. Yeah. How? Oh, TS ignore. Classic. Okay, let's fix that. But it's importing it from here, and oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's perfectly okay. Okay, cool. Let's see. We'll have to publish this again. That's so bad. Fix missing import. That's the tricky thing with tsignore. You suddenly get, like, I just can't understand. Like, I understand why people don't use TypeScript, but after using TypeScript, I don't understand how people can go with JavaScript. Like, this kind of error here happens all the time because you never have any, like, you don't have much help to deal with these kinds of things. I guess you would get like a linter error there. And even with VS Code, even though you're not using TypeScript, it actually uses TypeScript under the hood to infer certain things. So you do get help. What are we doing? Build, and then npm publish tag next. Okay, let's fix this. Did we get an answer? I think David's lives in the States. He's probably sleeping. Yeah, maybe we should share the example we made. Did we? No, we closed it. Yeah, let's no, what's this? There we go. Let's create a gist. Use reducer effect. Then we add a file, React states. So with React states, you would rather do reducer, and we call it context here. We don't have this exec. What you would rather do is, well, we can do, we don't have to, let's do this. Like, and this doesn't work with TypeScript or anything. Like, you won't have any inferred types in. Yeah, it's interesting. Use reducer. We're just calling it reducer. use effect. And we would actually call it, let's call it context. Context, context, and then we call this state, state. What was it? Fetching. And then it was the actual fetch from API. Or we can just do this. Context. Well, I wouldn't do, let's just do it inline. Then you see better how you would actually do the dispatch and everything. Create public gist. Oops, I did something wrong. Sorry that I'm going way off on other stuff here. This would be state. This would be context. Okay, update. And then, I have to get this out of my head. Let's see. Okay, cool. Let's get back to the app. Hopefully we can install React States now, and it should be more happy about yarn dev. Wow, we've just been messing around for 15 minutes soon. We should get something actually done here. Cool. So now we have our sign-in required. We have our auth, and what we're going to do, what we forgot to do, is that we want to use, we didn't add our dashboard. So let's add that. Use DevTools, React States DevTools, dashboard states. Cool. Oh, let's name it dashboard. Yeah, the hot refresh works really bad with the... Okay, so now this is like in requiring authentication, and then it moves into loading and loaded state. Okay, let's first go in and fix... Let's go in and fix the UI. Family, dashboard. Okay, so what we want to display here, and again now let's use our matcher, return match dashboard, and it tells us what we need to match. Awaiting authentication, what are we going to show then? So when we're awaiting authentication, we want to display the skeleton. So let's close down some things here. How are we going to, let's try to find something like a skeleton first. I guess we need like a layout, or like, what is this? Dividers. Okay, so this is like page examples. I guess this one kind of looks most similar. Oh, this is so interesting. Yeah, let's find one that kind of looks like what we want. So we want like, where is our, where's our Excalidraw? Okay, I had too many tabs open there. Let's see, Excalidraw. There it is. Yeah, so we have like this left thing here, and then we have the weak plant. Like this is our skeleton, so we need to find something that kind of looks like that. Well, this kind of looks like the weaks. Yeah, like this. This looks like the weaks. We could use that. Yeah, maybe this is a bit better. Like you would rather have like the grocery list as more like that kind of thing. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And then we could even have this divide here, which also looks cool. Yeah, and this is like the weeks. And then events, what would that be? Yeah, we can figure that out. Like maybe that would be something like this. I don't know. Yeah, or maybe like each, yeah, this should be weeks. And then we separate events like that. I wonder how it would look though, because here you have like it's 2 and 2. Well, you see here, you have certain, yeah, but maybe we could just, yeah, we'll see how it looks like. Okay, so we're going to use, wow, they're really good at building UIs. We're going to use this one, requires JS. Yeah, I don't care. How are we going to approach this? This example requires some changes to your config. Okay. Wow, interesting. Okay, let's add that stuff first. Tailwind config. Theme and plugins. Cannot find module. Tailwind CSS forms. Okay. Yarn and Tailwind CSS colors. I guess I already have Tailwind CSS. So Tailwind CSS forms and Tailwind CSS line clamp. Cool. And then the question is, do we kind of shove the whole thing in there? I think we're gonna do that, and then we're rather going to like remove stuff. I think that's way easier. User. Yeah, let's just copy the whole thing. And this, like, the question now is, this is going to be both a skeleton and actually show content. So the question is, do we create like a separate skeleton? And then we start populating it. Or do we, yeah, how do we do that? Oh, what's this? Can I? Ooh, that's nice. I think it needs to be like a secondary thing. Like what's important for React in terms of, well, I guess it doesn't really matter here because we're going to do, yeah, let's see. Let's just try it. So we're going to create this dashboard skeleton. Let's just shove everything in there. Blah, 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 navigation, recent hires, classes. Oh, had a hard time. Export const, I like to do it like this, dashboard skeleton. And then we'll just show the skeleton in any state now. error. Then we'll change that later. Oh. Loading. Oh my god. And loading. And what was the last one? Oh, help me. Requiring authentication. Okay. Let's show the skeleton in every single state. And let's see if it runs now. Like you can imagine, like the brilliance of doing copy pasting of these components is that imagine you had to create opinionated components for all of this. Like you would have to decide what props to expose, the amount of configuration for each type of component. I just love that they embrace that they're only about doing class names. And then they have certain accessibility related components, but it's still like the look of it is still just class names. And then you're totally free to rearrange this around and do whatever you want with it. It's brilliant. Yeah. Cool. And now we have that page in the background. Oh shit, it's affecting the dev tools. God damn it. Yeah, I wonder how we can make the dev tools not being affected by... Why is it complaining about that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what's interesting is, like, yeah, sorry. Morning first, Helder. And yes, the matcher is really powerful, and this is actually inspired from the Rust language. They use match, like not just Rust, but that's where I've seen most of it. But other, like, there's this concept of pattern matching in other languages, which is extremely powerful. And the reason they are so powerful is because this comes from typed languages. And the reason they are so powerful is because they are exhaustive, meaning that the compiler will yell at you if you don't cover all the things that can match. And sometimes that feels a little bit weird because there's certain things you don't really care about. But in most languages, you could do like something like this, for example, in Rust, and then that would cover all the other things. But at least you're like explicit about that. But for UIs, I don't even like that. I think it's a really good thing that you have to think about what do I want to render in each of I'm consuming the dashboard. The dashboard can be in any of these states. And since this dashboard component is consuming the dashboard, we have to make sure that we think about what we display to the user in this component in the different states this dashboard can be in. So yeah. So I will just want to point out that like this is more the states that you can be in, while the action types are more like the events you send into the reducer, which ends up in a new state, like detail. But anyways, it's yeah, but it's super powerful. And by having these features, you completely remove all kinds of logic from the components that expresses UI. They basically just consume this, it's called a context, the dashboard context in this case, and then they do matching on it. That's all they express, and it's super declarative, and it yells at you if you do something wrong, and use dashboard. So in this use dashboard comes from the feature. So this should be called auth feature. So yes, so the dashboard feature, so this is like from React states and the architecture. It's that instead of having, like in React, you define state, you rather define a context. And the difference between the state and the context is if you were to write state here, you would just have one single object where you had all your different values. And the thing is, like, all these values, they represent some state. So for example, is loading data error. So these three values together represent some state. So if is loading is true, you're in a loading state. If you have data, you are in a loaded, like if is loading is false and you have data, you are in a loaded state. If you have an error and you're not loading, you're in an error state, for example. The problem is, what I'm starting to talk about now is, like, you have to use multiple values to understand what state you are in. And it can be very confusing. So for example, if you have is loading true and you have an error, does it mean you have an error, or does it mean that you're loading something new from an error? Like, there's so many combinations, and you have to interpret what these values actually represents in terms of state. But with a context, you explicitly say, this is the state I'm in now, this is the state I'm in now, this is the state I'm in now, and when I'm in the loading state, I also give you this value. So you are just, it's just that, like, you see, you have like multiple objects here instead of one object. And each object is labeled with an explicit name, like, what does this mean? And then instead of actions, you have like events, and the reason we name it, like, it's the same mechanism. It's still a reducer with a dispatcher, but the reason we use an event instead of action is that conceptually, when you dispatch an action, you say it's like an order. It's immediately do what I'm telling you to do. Like, the reducer doesn't have any say. It just receives an action and it just performs that action. So it's the outside of the reducer that decides that the reducer should change its state. But when you conceptually think about it as sending an event, the outside is just telling the reducer what is happening on the outside. And it's the reducer that decides, based on its current state, what should happen now. And that's what we're expressing here. So when we're creating the states reducer, again, it's just a plain reducer. But what it does is, when we're in awaiting authentication and we receive the event of auth authenticated or auth unauthenticated, that's when it actually moves to a new state. If any other kind of event triggers when the reducer is in this state, nothing happens. So this is how you put the control to the reducer instead. And then we implement side effects related to moving into these different states. But basically, this is what we are consuming in use dashboard. Oh, sorry. This is what we're consuming in use dashboard. It's each of these states. Yes. Yes, exactly. It's not about, I like to call them, like variables or values. I'm trying to find like a really good mental image for this. I have this part of the presentation. So this kind of explains it a little bit better. So typically, like traditionally with a reducer, you have state and action. And so the environment, it being a button click, some side effect from the outside, an HTTP response, a URL change, doesn't matter. It dispatches to the reducer. Like, dispatch means do this now. It's an order, like a general dispatches an order, right? And then the reducer just changes some values on this single object. It's always this single object represented. It's always this single object that is passed to the UI. Only the values just keeps changing all the time. And that means when the UI consumes that state, it kind of has to like check all these different values to understand, like, should I display a spinner now? Because is loading is true, but I also have an error. So should I display the spinner now, or should I not display that spinner? But when you just conceptually call it context and event, like it's the same reducer, you just call it context and event. You rather say that the environment notifies. It could even be notified. That would be even more explicit. Yeah, that would be interesting. Instead of send, you could say notify. But even send is better, right? You're just sending an event into the reducer. And then the reducer decides which one of these contexts should now be used based on this event coming in. And this is what this declarative overview shows you. It's like, when I'm in this state and I receive this event, move to this new context with this explicit state. And what that basically means is that the UI can always check one single property, which is called the state property, and just ask that, like, what is the value of the state property? Okay, then I know what state I'm in. I will know what kind of values are available to me. And there's no question about, should I show the spinner now? You should show the spinner if you are in a loading state. That's the only thing you have to check. Yeah, less re-renders, good question. Like in this case, I don't think it actually causes less re-renders, because you will still, like, if you return like a new object with a different state, or you update an existing, that can also happen. Like you have an existing state where you maybe you add an item to a list, for example, in that state, you would still like return a new object. It just has the same state property, which means that you would still cause a new re-render. But yeah, from a different perspective, you could say that if a UI consumes these states and then it passes those states down to child components, for example, maybe that will be, yeah. Anyways, it's not like noticeably less re-rendering, I would say. Yeah, it's kind of hard to evaluate. Yeah. But it's an interesting question. I haven't reflected on that. Anyways, what did I change something here? Oh yeah, cool. But yeah, I would encourage you to look at on the React states. Where are we? GitHub. On React states, I have to record its presentation. This video. This really goes, like, it goes from React use state all the way up to this concept. Yeah, it's the control in the UI. It's like the way you can think about it. The way we talk about it at Code Sandbox is that this feature, the purpose of this feature is to translate this impure, unpredictable, typically imperative world of environments. And what it does is that it translates it into a context. That's what it basically does. It translates all this stuff into a context that's perfectly represented to be consumed by a UI. Perfectly represented in the terms that it's just declarative. It's just an object describing what states the UI can be in. But it's also more, it hides all the side effects, meaning that the only thing you actually do in the component is to consume the state. You don't like do a use effect which fetches some data, and then you have to like deal with aborting that or deal with the error and have internal state and stuff like that. It only consumes these contexts. which makes the UI components, they're just freaking beautiful. They do exactly what they're supposed to do. Yeah, and the cool thing, Helder, about this is that if you're using Redux now, you can like try this concept for a certain thing. You don't even have to use it for like your whole application architecture, like replacing Redux. You could, even if you have some complex interaction. For example, I have an example in the Git book. Where is it? React states. Consuming states, I think. No, explicit states. Yeah, so here, for example, explicit states for complex interactions. So in this case, we're doing like a drag and drop thing, and that's really difficult to do. So the way this works is that you define all the different contexts the drag and drop can be in. Like it can be idle, like you're not dragging anything, or it might be detecting the drag. That's when you click the mouse and you start like moving the mouse, and then it's actually dragging. And then if you release it, it's idle again. And then the events is like, okay, either you're moving your mouse, your mouse is up, or your mouse is down. Like those are the events. And the cool thing about this is that you don't have to granularly add and remove these listeners and stuff. You just start expressing what events are valid for what states. So when we're idle, that's when we actually care about the mouse down event, because we want to start detecting the drag in this case, which is a new state we move into. And when we're detecting the drag, then we're interested in the mouse move event. And what this logic does, it detects if you move 5 pixels to the right or to the left. Yeah, oh, this one should actually have a mouse up as well, because it should move back to idle if you have a mouse up. I'll fix that. But anyways, if you, and here you can see that as long as you're within these 5 pixels, it will actually just return the same context. So nothing really changes. But as soon as you move outside one of those 5 pixels, it returns the dragging state. And in this case, the mouse move event does something else. It actually changes the dragging values. So the really cool thing now is that when you actually consume this, you just have to say, okay, this is my drag drop, and this is my send, which basically is dispatch. I start in idle, and then I go and I define the events, because we always like register the events now, because we're controlling what events we want to deal with from the inside of the reducer. So you don't have to like describe how you want this to work from the outside. You describe it from the inside, because you just use this concept of the outside being completely unpredictable, and you're wielding that unpredictability by expressing it this way. But anyways, so all we have to do is we create the different events, and they just pass in data, right? They just shoot off events into the reducer. And then we match on the context, and we say, okay, we match on the context to create the properties for our element. Where in the idle state, we use all the events. When we're detecting the drag, we also use all the events. But when we're dragging, we are adding all the events, but we're also changing the style of the object or the element, using the X and Y from the dragging context. Yes, the focus is on the state names, exactly. And a really powerful, yeah, exactly. That's a really good way to say it. The focus is on the state names. You always check the state first, and then you know what values you have. And what's also really powerful about that is that in terms of TypeScript, if you use a single state, so if I have like state here, what typically happens is that you type it like this. It's loading, data is an array, or it's null. for example. Error is a string or it's null, because you don't always have it, which means that you have to do a bunch of checks all the time. Like, do I have data and not have an error? Am I loading and do I not have an error? Like, you have to do all these kinds of checks. But when you use the context, you just have to check that one single thing, like context state equals loaded. Then I know that my data is an array, because the loaded state would be like loaded, data would be any. We don't have to do this or null thing, because the state controls when I have my values available to me. And that's insanely powerful. It's quite hidden, but it's like super, super powerful. Yeah, all the time. Cool. Yeah, so we what were we doing? Oh, did I break something? What did we do here? Oh, there we are. Weird. Yeah, it was this contain. Why didn't suddenly have different values? Is it because I need to restart or something? Now, the thing about having these explicit states is that, and this is the difficult thing, and this is why people get worried when you call them state machines, is that it's a different mindset. It can feel like it's the other way around, and yeah, I can totally understand that. And that's why I built this library without talking about state machines, even though it really is a state machine. Because you kind of have to see the benefits to get into the mindset. And like it's with everything. When you, if you want to invest learning something, there has to be something there that drives you. Just because someone says, this is super, super good for you, it's like exercising, right? You know that exercising is good for you, but you don't. Maybe you do, but I don't. You don't do it because you don't have that drive. You don't have that thing that tells you that this feeling that this is good for you. So you have to catch that interest first. And typically the way state machines are explained is like, you're doing things wrong. State machines is the right way to do it. And you're kind of threatened into learning it. But when you just talk about these explicit states and the benefits we just went through, then it becomes much easier to invest in the transition into this new mindset, because it takes time to think about this. Okay, good. We can relate them. But yeah, it takes time to start thinking about these states, because typically, it's just a different mindset. So that's like one thing, just the states themselves is a different mindset, but also that you don't click the button, do the side effect, then tell the reducer what to do. It's more like you click the button, you notify the reducer that the button was clicked. The reducer decides if this should transition into a new state, and then the side effect happens based on transitioning into that new state. And that's not a natural way to think. The natural way to think is that the user drives the application. But that's the whole problem. The user shouldn't drive the application. The user should be an event. Ooh, that's interesting. That would be a nice title for a presentation, like the user as an event. Yeah, that's really cool. Because the user is just an event in your application. They click buttons and they navigate, and they're just events. And they shouldn't decide how your application moves forward. Your application logic has to decide how the application moves forward. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll think on that. Anyways, we have to figure out why the hell do we get a diff on the rendering here. Maybe we can just clean it up first and maybe this kind of goes away. Okay, so we don't, okay, where do we start? So, okay, so we have a pop over here. I guess that's the thing. Let's do this. I guess that's the pop over. Yeah, there's a really nice presentation by Andre Staltz, user intent. Yeah, what if the user was a function? And he talks about, I can't quite remember, but yeah, he talks about this interface between the user and the computer, and he's talking about observables. It's a really good talk. And like the way he talks about it here is that it's intent. Like the user shouldn't drive the application. They are intentions. But he doesn't have like this concept of explicit states and transitioning between states. Yeah, it's really good. He's a smart guy, and he's a passionate smart guy. Anyways, let's see what we can remove here. Let's see, workflow. Where the hell is that? Workflow? What's that? What the hell? Oh, screen reader only. Ugh. Okay, button, right section on desktop. Okay, so this is the right section. I really want this to be like the other side. Can I just move that to the other side? Let's try that first. Can I do this and then it's on the other side? Oh, no, maybe that was the top menu. Oh, right section. Oh, button. Oh, yeah, here we are. View notification. This, we can just remove this. This is like the top. Yeah, and we can rather reintroduce that later if it's actually going to show something there. And then we can remove, okay, so this is the, yeah, navigation and the search. We can remove that. Menu button, let's see. There we go. Okay, this is looking good. Menu button. What the hell is the menu button? Is it that one? What happens if I remove the menu button? Oh, it's a hidden thing. Okay, let's remove that. Cool. And then we have, okay, so this is the icon, I guess. Yeah, logo. It even tells me. Let's remove that. Like, this is way faster than me actually building the UI for this. Okay, cool. So we even have that little fun line there. That's cool. Yeah, gradient from light blue to cyan. Oh, this is interesting. Anyways, I want to flip these two around. Like, what is this? Do I need this? No, doesn't seem like I need that. I wonder why it's a popover. Oh, maybe I don't need any of this. Popover. What happens now? Yeah. Okay. Popover. View notifications. Yeah, I don't think I actually need this. It's just that things kind of padding bottom. Yeah, I think I just have to move some stuff down. Oh yeah, you see we have minus margin top. If we remove that, maybe we're back on track. Yeah, we lost a nice thingy though, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so now we just want to flip these two. Left column. Action panel. And right column. So if we do this and we do div this, do they flip? Yes, and we got them flipped. Nice. Cool, and we don't want this Chelsea thing. Where's Chelsea? And that's the welcome panel, I guess. That's the section, if we remove that. Yes. Nice. And now we have these cards, and they should, yeah, it should just be more of them. Yeah, or maybe this is a good way to, oh, this is interesting. We could show it like this as well. Does it? Yeah. Maybe it's better. So like in the Excalibur, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we need another one. Oh yeah, but then we have, yeah, let's see. We'll figure that out. I guess we're not using that much here now in navigation. Cool. Cool. And I guess we can do like, what's this? Margin top 8. Oh shit. Padding top 8. There we go. This is nice. Now, what's interesting is that we kind of want to use the full screen. So this is going to be tricky. Like this should all be responsive. I have no idea how to do that. But at least we have something to go by here. Yeah, and this is, yeah, this is interesting. We can use this icon to kind of indicate which is the current day. And then we could have a different icon for like events. So we would be able to separate, so all our cards, so that we have like a full set of cards, but yeah. And then we have recent hires. How is this working? Actions panel. How does it decide? Oh, so if I say 3, nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How did I draw this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I had actually 4. Yeah, but I think this is good. And then we have like another. How do I grid calls 3? Oh, I just need, okay, so actions would now be like weeks. So I think, what's happening here? Ring, oh, no. The rounding stuff doesn't, oh, cool span. No, that's left column. No, that's wrong. How do I get a rounded thing? Like you see now it cuts it off right here. There we have like ring 3. What's... I don't know what that means. Oh, yeah, I guess this is... Yeah, here it shows it. It's using action index 1. What the hell is this? Yeah, it's something related to that. Yeah, I'll fix that later, because we're going to be explicit about what these things are going to be anyways. So we're going to fix that. I have to stop the stream shortly. But yeah, okay. Let's try to... Oh, did I zoom? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. What should we do? Should we just fix it? I guess we should just fix it. So let's copy one of these. Yes, and let's just keep this for now, so that we have it as a reference. Wow, it's really insane how much you have to take into account. So let do this. And now we don't have like a key here. We're just going to say, since this is the first one, we're just going to do this. And yeah, action.icon background. Yeah, exactly. Action. Let's just take what we have there. Yeah, we don't need class names here. Oops. Yeah, sorry. This is actually taking some time, but we are building a quite complex UI. So like me doing this manually would never work, right? And we need a foreground as well. I can foreground. Where were we? There we were. Okay, cool. And then we have the icon. So this would be like the clock icon. Then we have the href, which doesn't really matter. Let's just do this. An action name would be some action. Okay, this is looking good. Oh, fuck. Did I break it? What did I do? Is it because I don't have enough actions? You know what? This is the kind of stuff I can do outside of the stream. This is not interesting at all. Yeah, this is really annoying. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. I think we're missing this stuff. So we had like rounded. I just copied that stuff. So let's see. This is the class name which has rounded TL. This one. There we go. Yeah, there's still something wrong here. Yeah, it seemed to add stuff. But anyways, we can be way more... yeah, I'm probably... Ah, fuck. Yeah, this will take a little bit of time. Oh, it's probably because these are empty. I'm saying it's a 3-column. And now I only have 1 item. So yeah, I think this actually makes... Oh, this one's back now. Nice. Cool. And we'll also, like when we refresh, we always go into this sign-in thing. Oh, now the DevTools isn't there. Oh, maybe that is what's happening here. It's something related to showing the DevTools. Anyways, okay, cool. So I'll stop the stream here for now, and then I'm going to put on some music. I'm going to update some scoping documents, and then I'll do some. No, I'm going to do a little bit of coding first. Then I'm going to update some scoping documents, and then I'm going to do some more coding, hopefully. Cool, but okay, so this was all about UI, but like, look at this, it looks amazing, right? So it's going to be fun to start populating this with our data. I think we need to figure this out. Like, it doesn't show the dev tool for some reason. We need to figure that out tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow. Maybe I'll look at that in the weekend, and I'll fix some more UI in the weekend, because this is a fun project to work on. So I can do a little bit in the weekend. Yes. Yeah, we also have to fix that this actually takes up, it's responsive. I wonder how that works. But we'll figure it out. Cool. I guess that's it for now. Thanks for all the questions, Helder. It's yeah, I'm right in the middle of like creating some good references for this type of mindset and the architecture. So I think I'll record this presentation and just get this out there now, because then the Git book will be the reference, like the documentation for it. So it's easier for people to get into. And then, but yeah, it's a lot of fun to talk about because it's so fundamental to how we think about programming and building applications. Yeah, but I really like this, the user as an event. Yeah, maybe I should, yeah, I'll write something about that related to this thing. Like, the user is also an event. It's not the puppet master of your state. That's the whole problem. Yeah, anyways, bye for now. We'll talk on Monday.